mean, that'll probably define Trudeau forever, how ridiculous that sounds. And there's no point in bashing other than to teach students in what went wrong there and make sure the people like Butts and Trudeau are assigned the blame, and of course Freeland. But the incompetence in all the cabinet is something we don't want anymore. So we need we need Pierre to come in. What Pierre understands is the most important about the parliamentary system. It's putting the right people in the right files. You need a real finance minister, someone who's actually run a financial institution. You need someone who understands industrial policy and understands environmental policy, that makes sure there's a balance in job creation and competitiveness, that understands capital gains taxes. Can you imagine the last thing that Freeland did was to wipe us out in terms of competition against our biggest trade partner? She thought Harris was going to get in and raise capital gains tax to 28, and she went to 32 in her proposal. That's sheer insanity. Only someone who'd never run a financial institution would even propose something as crazy as that. And that's what we're sitting with. We have to reverse that immediately. We have to be competitive with taxes against the US, or no capital will come to Canada. These are small nuances that you have to make sure you place the right people in the right files. And Pierre knows that. And that's important for every Canadian to understand. That's the role of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister fills the cabinet with people that have executional skills. Even if he or she didn't, in the case of Trudeau, he wasn't even smart enough to figure that out.
Kevin, I know you are in Florida. You've met with President-elect Trump at Mar-a-Lago. 2 key points. I believe you're addressing Canada and U.S. unity. What's your take on his tweets about Canada becoming the 51st state as a Canadian? Kevin, how do you feel about it?
No, that's never going to happen. We're never going to give our sovereignty up. But there's so much opportunity between these giant trading partners, unique globally, to be stronger. And the low-hanging fruit are things like a common currency and, merging policy between the Bank of Canada and the Fed, coming up with a uni passport very similar to what they have in the EU, that both sides control the issuance of. The amount of trade we do just out of Alberta. I mean, we're a $1 trillion trading partner combined in Canada, with 188 billion US of just energy coming out of Alberta. We don't need tariffs. Of course we don't want tariffs, and he doesn't want them either. All I asked of him, as just I'm not representing the government of Canada. I'm just an individual. I'm an investor. I'm a well-known investor on both sides of the border. Was to say, sir, this was Saturday, so this before Trudeau quit. Perhaps you would cut Canada a little slack and let them elect a leader that has a 4-year mandate like you have, because you want someone you're negotiating with that can actually get a deal done. These people you're talking to, Trudeau and the other ministers that came down, don't waste your time with them. They're going to be wiped out politically very shortly. And in fact, it happened. It was very nascent and probably, fortuitous that it happened on the Monday. But I think he understood that. I think it didn't fall on deaf ears. And I think that's probably what will happen, which will be good. Give Pierre a chance to get set up, put his ministers in place, and then start trading trips to Washington and Ottawa to figure out our new relationship. We want one. That's important. And of course, I have another agenda item that I went to Mar-a-Lago about, was buying TikTok.
Yeah, you're dead serious about this.
I've been talking about it for 2 years. I'm part of the only syndicate that can pull this off. We're going to find out on Friday. The Supreme Court justices have a hearing for midday on Friday. I think I know what's going to happen, and I am waiting as the only accredited buyer.
Frank, you're doing it alongside Frank McCourt, correct?
Yes, McCourt. We merged our bids. Frank has a lot of things I don't have, and I have some stuff he doesn't have. So we worked it out. So it's the McCourt O'Leary syndicate. It's massive. We think we're going to it's a $20 billion deal minimum.